Welcome to the Postgame podcast. No Jerry Recco today, so I've got the Eddie Scozzare. Welcome, Eddie.
Hello, podcast people and YouTube person.
Yeah. So you've been with I was trying to think. I don't know why I randomly thought of this the other day when about you retiring in 5 months or so. But when you joined Boomer and Carton, that was in November of 2007.
Correct. Day after Thanksgiving.
Where were you just before that?
I was the board op for Mike and the Mad Dog.
And you did that for how long?
I did that for 3 years.
And why did you want to get off that show?
Those hours, 11 to 7, are horrendous in terms of life,
Mm-hmm.
where we live and where we commute from. And we were still in Astoria, so I was driving in morning rush and driving home in evening rush, and it was disaster.
If your shift started at 11 a.m., that's what you said, 11 a.m.,
Mm-hmm.
what time would you leave your house in New Jersey to get to Queens?
Minimum 9.
9.
Often 8:30, sometimes 8.
And then you're walking in the door at what time at the end of the day?
When I got home, like 8:30 most days.
So you were gone for 12 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
And here, from the start of my day when I wake up at 1 a.m., it's not even 12 hours by the time I get home. Most days, it's about noon. So that's
from
11 hours.
Yeah, from the wake up even.
Mm-hmm. From wake up, right.
Okay, I could see that. Yeah, I mean, that was the thing, like when Craig left originally and Boomer had discussions, I guess, about maybe moving to afternoons.
Mm-hmm.
And me, you, and Jerry, who would be commuting from New Jersey, were all like, that sounds like an absolute disaster.
Yeah, and we basically said,
Yeah, so luckily he didn't make that move.
Yeah, I wonder how much that was a factor
of us saying we really don't want to do that.
With whatever new morning show there is.
It's a brutal.
It is.
It's a brutal life change.
Yeah, I mean, if we lived in the 5 boroughs and could take, public transportation easily, with the trains, you can, especially during daytime hours. I think there's it's safer. And, it might have been doable for us.
And then, so you were with Mike and the Mad Dog for 3 years, you said, prior to Boomer and Carton.
Yeah. Was it 3? Yeah, I think it was.
And then what'd you do right before that?
I was the midday producer for 11 years.
And did that varied the shows?
Yeah, it was I was the midday board op first. And then that was with Lupica and Berman. And that didn't last. Then Berman left like 3 months in, and then it was Lupica, and he left like a year later because he had a fight. Well, Lupica and Berman had a fight, so they were supposed to do the show together. But right before it started, they had this fight instigated by Imus, and there was like a big cover war at WFAN with Len Berman and Imus's face on the cover of the Daily News, I think. And then, so that never even, so then they had to do 2-hour shows, 10 to noon, and was Lupica, and then noon to 2 was Berman. And again, Berman lasted about 3 months, and he was like, this is ridiculous, and he didn't want to do it. And then Lupica and Imus had a fight, and then that's why he left a year later, because it wasn't as much fun as he thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And they had me and this guy Bill Rodman were going to be the team. He was the producer, I was the board up for that midday show, which actually the Lupica and Berman never started. They split it before it started. So we had, me and Bill were working on 2 different shows who were competing for the same guests. So it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then after Lupica left, Russ Salzberg came in, did it for a year.
Solo.
Yes. And then he was joined by Steve Summers.
Now, why would they do that? If he was doing the show solo, all those few years? Why
Mhm.
add a person to
Well,
that?
they always, that liked, like, the teams, for the non-overnight. So that was just something they thought would work, and it did. It got pretty good ratings. I think Joe and Evan, ultimately eclipsed them, in
So why
terms
did that show end?
because Russ was, not renewed, and actually both of them were sorta they offered Summers when they let Russ go, then they offered Summers the evenings. That's when he went away for about 6 months or 4 months or something, and then came back to do what he wound up doing till the end of his career here, the evening shift. But he was sort of, kinda busted up about it, of being demoted, if you will,
From
and
middays to nights?
Uh-huh. And even though I think he was better served as a solo act myself, um, but he kind of took some time off. But there was really a public outcry to bring him back, led by Jerry Seinfeld. And when I remember when Steve came back, Jerry came on with him that his first show. So yeah,
Huh.
and
So
then before that, I was the overnight. My first full time gig was as with Summers on the overnight.
Summers was on the overnight, then
Oh,
moved
yeah,
to middays.
he was on the overnight from, I think, the start of the station in '87 until that must have been, like, early '95, when he came to the midday with Russ.
Where did you think he fit best for his
Overnight,
style?
overnight, 100%.
Overnights.
Captain Midnight, yeah,
Yeah.
mhm. It
Y
was just a and when I worked with him, it was really a especially unique kind of show, and it was good times, and that's where I learned to do what I do. It was really with him.
The drops.
Yeah. I would have, like, whole conversations with him with drops going, like, back and forth with all these clips I had of just old-timey radio things you know, and then that's when I started when we had our LV144, live read, I used to put in drops in that. That's when I started doing all that stuff too. And then I really so that ability really started then, and then I kinda did very little of it for all the other years until I got here. But I would do some of it. So it was always kind of there. But I really started doing it back with Summers on the overnight.
And why did you leave the midday show if going to afternoons was a worse commute for you?
Because they basically said, I was presented to move to be the board up for Mike and the Mad Dog as a choice. But ultimately, when I said I would rather stay producing the midday, they said, "Well, we'd hate to lose you."
So it was presented as a choice and
Correct.
hoping that you would say, "Oh, I'll
Correct.
go with Mike and the Mad Dog."
Yeah.
And when you said, "You know what? I like it here in the middays," they
Yeah.
went,
Yeah,
be a shame.
lifestyle-wise. And they
Yeah.
say, "We hate to lose you,
Mm.
but I need to keep the insulin flowing." Right? So,
Yeah, that damn insulin is
I
expensive.
I took the other assignment.
Wow.
Um, and believe me, and I know this, I was a terrible producer in the like today, in today's day and age, I'd probably be a pretty good
Oh,
producer.
yeah.
But back then when guests were
Oh,
paramount,
you were so judged on
yeah,
guests.
100%. And I hated booking
Me
guests.
too.
I hated it.
It sucks.
Like when people come to you and you decide, "Hey, sure, I'll do this." Yeah, that's fine.
And that's how
Yes.
more it is now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But back then it was not
Yeah,
that
even
way.
when you started, it was like, a little bit more pressure to get guests
Yes.
until it was, determined that guests suck, especially
I
for what
always
we do.
and this happened with Ron and Fez, and I was so happy when I got to that point with Boomer and Carton, which is when you can convince the hosts not to do guests
Mhm.
to the point where when you book someone, they go, "Why are we talking to them?" I was
Right.
like, "Yes,
Yes,
we're all on
exactly.
the same page
Right,
now."
and the ratings bear it out, and if
Yeah.
people like our show and our show is like, whatever modified guy talk, whatever you wanna call it, people are listening for the personalities of Boomer and Geo and the interaction with the crew. That's what they like. You put a guest in with rare exceptions, that's going to detract from what people like.
Yeah.
and why people are listening.
Right.
But in those days, I was terrible. Like every other aspect of the producing, although I was a good call screener, but it used to torture me like in a different way than you. When you just like fight with people and say you're stupid and blah blah blah. I was too nice. I was too much the other way. So it used to be torture for me just to because I didn't like to be mean to people.
You like to cut people off and go like, "All right, thank you,
Yeah,
hang up."
yeah, no,
You would
I
have the
couldn't, but I should have been honest, but I used to like put people on hold and like, hey, they kind of not really talking. So, because I didn't want to be mean to people, so that was torture for me. Although I was okay at it, but as you know, the callers are terrible. So for
Yeah.
the most part, so that's a tough job anyway. But like in organizing the show, managing the commercials, and all that other stuff, and other creative things, I was good at, and I could do the producing as it is today,
Yes.
for sure. But then I was terrible at guests, and that's really what Mark Chernoff and Eric Spitz, the assistant program director at the time, cared about. So I understood why they did it, but it had been 11 years. Um, and I think the show had changed. It was changing. Yeah, it was changing from. It went from Steve, Russ and Steve to Jody Mack and Susan, and then Jody Mack and Sid, and then Sid and Joe. But it was like right around that time before it even. I never worked with Joe, and then so then I was asked to
Why do you
either
think they asked you to leave that midday
because I was a
position?
terrible
Because
producer
of
in their
the
eyes.
guest booking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, back then, like, at some point, and I don't know when that point was, I guess the proliferation of a lot more sports radio stations,
Hmm.
right? When you were doing it, FAN was
When I started, yeah, that was it.
that was it. Then every city started getting a sports
Hmm.
station. Then every city started getting 2 sports stations.
Hmm.
And then small towns were getting
And
sports
national
stations.
sports stations.
And then national sports things. So it became a thing where when you to book a guest back when you were doing it, and probably in the very beginning of when I was doing it, like you would just randomly call people
Yeah,
and you would try to find players' phone numbers, broadcasters'
right.
phone
And
numbers,
you could back
and you
then.
could,
Yeah.
but it was a job. Like it was
It
not
was
easy.
work. No, no, but it was doable. It wasn't like even if you get like a lot of times nowadays, even if you got somehow to someone, a lot of times they just hang up on you and not even do it.
Yeah, they're so savvy now. They go
Yeah.
now it's a thing like we joke about with Kevin Burkhardt, who
Hmm.
worked here and is now at Fox,
Yes.
and we all have Kevin Burkhardt's cell phone number.
Yes.
But if we call Kevin, he will say, "Listen, I want to do it. Please go through this person at Fox
Hmm.
PR because otherwise he gets in trouble."
Right.
You know what I mean? Like so it became a very formal thing. And then with so many radio stations requesting the same people,
Correct.
it didn't it became a thing where you people had to be either plugging something, like,
Right.
had a product to
Hmm.
plug, or they wouldn't come on.
Or they had some sort of a personal relationship
Right.
with one of the hosts.
Yes.
And that was how it evolved, what it evolved into. But even now, like you say, the Burkhardt example, even if he's willing to do it, he can't.
Right.
Or if there's guys that work for MSG, Mike Breen, Sam Rosen, they cannot. They are forbidden to do it.
Yeah.
And not that Fox wouldn't put Kevin Burkhardt on. I think we may have had him
Yeah,
on
Jerry
once or
had him
twice.
on, I
Right.
think, more
So,
recently.
but it's like, it's pulling teeth. And even we work for CBS. Yes.
Yes.
We can't get Tony Romo on
Oh, that
ever.
was the biggest thing that threw me off,
Yeah.
like, the fact that when we were CBS Radio
Uh
owned
huh.
us, that I couldn't get the CBS people on, the main people.
Mm-hmm.
I could get, like I'm trying to think, like, who we would get, like, Steve Tasker, who
Mm-hmm.
was and I'd grab him, like, maybe
Mm-hmm.
when the Jets were playing the Bills,
Yeah.
a link there, but, yeah, that I tell you, even when, I had a really cushy, easy job at the Opie and Anthony show
Mm-hmm.
when they were on K-Rock after Howard Stern left, David Lee Roth didn't work out, they brought in Opie and Anthony. Opie and Anthony had been cast away by the company for being too dirty, So when they came back and everyone was playing nice together, they were really easy to work with for me
Mhm.
as their censor, so to speak, right? They were easy to work with. Back in the NEW days, they would try to trick me to
Yes.
get dirty things on the air,
Yeah.
but they were now working with me. So it was a cushy job.
Yep.
And I had that job when Boomer and Carton were starting, and I had known Craig and um, Mark had Chernoff had asked me to come over, and I was like, I have this really cushy job. Like,
Yeah.
so I even said to Mark, I go, oh, Mark, I was given every excuse. I said, in Queens, I go, there's nowhere to park. He's, oh, I'll give you a parking spot in the parking lot. All right. I go, I hate booking guests. I don't want to do. One of the other guys will book the guests.
Which was never true, right?
Well, yeah. So what? There's the guy Dan who was
Yes.
Dan Cronin,
Right.
who's another guy who's like a lawyer now. They're like, "Oh, Dan will book the guests." I don't know whatever happened with that, but he
Well,
did
that
not.
position was the first of, the 3 ancillary positions to be eliminated.
I know what happened. Dan, because Dan was probably paid hourly
Mhm.
and not great, he would try to book guests during those hours he was at work,
Mhm.
but he was not checking emails later in the day to see if
Right.
they responded or any of
And you
that.
can't blame him,
And you can't blame him. So then
especially if he's thinking, "I'm just playing around with this radio thing. I'm gonna go be a lawyer
yeah,
and assume my rightful place in society."
yeah. So then then I guess it just fell to
And then
me.
that job kinda went away,
Yeah,
and
Dan's
then
job.
eventually the other 2 jobs went away too, so
Yes.
and here we are.
And here we are right here.
Yeah, and I remember, like, back my best guest booking, I got, uh, back I think it was I forget the year, 91, 92, maybe, when there was a split college national championship between Georgia Tech and Colorado, and after Colorado won that night, I got, Coach McCarthy from the Colorado Buffaloes on, after he had just won the half of the national championship,
Which
which
would
was, like,
never happen today.
crazy.
Never happen.
Yeah, and I just got him I don't even remember if I went and used the SID or whatever, sports information director. We used to have a book, the COSIDA book with all the college, sports information directors and their numbers, and people were starting to have cell phones and all
Yeah.
that, and so I got him, this wasn't me, but you remember Buster Douglas beating Mike Tyson in
Yeah.
Japan. Happened, like, in the middle of the night. One of our, producers, Len Weiner, got Buster Douglas within an hour after.
What?
Yes, from Japan. Yeah,
I
and
never heard that
this was
story.
all of those 2 examples are before internet and email. So, like, how the hell did we do you could do it. You had to have a knack, but
Yeah.
you could do it.
Yeah. My friend Whitney down in sports radio in Tampa, he's the one who trained me on everything
Mhm,
in sports radio down there. He was s- so friendly, and all the players in the locker room loved him.
mhm.
He was never looking to dig up dirt on
Right.
anybody. That wasn't his thing. He was friendly, happy. He would ask them rock and roll
Yeah,
questions. If he had a tough question to ask, he would do it in a way that everybody enjoyed. So when they would see him come in,
right.
so someone like him could get to somebody, they could get him,
Yes.
or even on the phone, he was good. Like, to certain people were really good at that. You said you weren't one of them. I was not one of those
Yeah.
smooth
No. No, no,
people on
no.
the phones that
I
could get to hotel rooms and things like that.
Yeah, and if I talk to people and work with people for, a couple of weeks, they would like me.
Sure.
But, like, in the moment, "Look, who the hell is this guy?"
Yeah.
Which is where the whole the Eddie Scozzare thing
The
goes.
Eddie Scozzare.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to have Steve Summers in here next Friday, a
Yeah.
week from tomorrow. So that'll be cool. I wanted to make sure it was a day, you have a couple Mondays off. I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure it was a day you were
When is
in.
that next
Next
week?
Friday,
Did
December 12th,
okay.
Steve is coming in to
Excellent.
promote his book.
Good. As you should.
And that's going to be a photograph I will be taking, you and Steve,
Okay.
because that's WFAN historic things.
But yeah, I suppose it
Yeah.
is.
Do you think it's a big deal now? It definitely used to be. Do you think it's a big deal now, day parts, like as far as like, so that the company is going to move Evan and Tiki from afternoon drive to middays? That used to be considered a big deal. Like,
I think it's still a deal,
yeah,
but, because we still have a ton of people, as evidenced by the callers, when we have like a hot button or fun topic. When we were talking about that cartoon movie,
Yeah.
um, you heard a bunch of guys calling in from their phones on
Right.
their way to taking the kids to school, on the way to work, wherever it is, because you hear the car alarms going off or whatever, your door is open alarm and your car's still on.
Yeah.
You hear all that. So that is still a significant portion of our audience, people in their cars listening to the radio. So it still counts. But with all the online and on demand and the Odyssey app and other ways to get the shows from your podcasts or YouTube, whatever, it's less of a deal, but it's still a pretty good deal, but not like it used to be when
Yeah.
that was it and there was no rewind, nothing. If you missed it, you missed it.
Right. Yeah, that's the weirdest, to me, it's such a great thing because there's so many times and moments in radio that are such a great moment, but if you weren't listening at that time,
Right.
you didn't hear it,
Yes, correct.
and maybe, like, someone told you about
Right.
it.
And you can't recreate those moments. Like
Yeah,
it sounds awful.
but in another way, in a way that it's bad, it's that they're not just moments now, they're moments that are now on tape,
Hmm.
on video. It's
And if I don't have to listen because if I missed it,
that's
or if I want the highlights of the show, anything good, it's gonna be available to me.
yes, that part's tough.
Yeah, because that diminishes your ratings. Now it increases another portion of how we're gauged
Yeah.
with downloads and all that, but it doesn't necessarily translate to your ratings number. And I think that's still the primary way we're judged,
Yes.
even though that other stuff should count and streaming numbers and all that sort of should be lumped together somehow, but it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one. Because 'cause I'll hear thing like even like a BT and Sal will have somebody on like, "Oh,
Hmm.
we're gonna carry the Joe Shane this or that," and I'm like, "Yeah, I should tune into that." Or, you know what? I'll wait till this afternoon and
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Right, and also there'll be a synopsis,
Yeah.
it'll just be the highlights, all the other stuff that you don't have to.
Yeah, or I'll wait and see if anything cool happens, then
Right.
I'll go back and listen
Exactly,
to it.
right.
If not, eh.
Right. Now with our show, it's a little different in terms of, like it's all of the just random interaction and stuff that is the fun stuff, not necessarily like a big breaking news situation. But even those things are still posted later.
Yeah.
So people could go,
Yeah.
the whole show is podcasted,
It's
correct?
an on-demand world.
Yeah.
Sure is.
And is Boomer and Geo video podcasted also, or just not the whole thing,
Not
not
the
like
whole
the other
thing, no,
shows?
just some
Because the other
clips.
shows I think are the
Yeah.
whole shows,
Yeah, yeah.
but not us.
Not us. Just clips. Because we
Mhm.
have a deal with CBS Sports
Right.
Network.
So that's their property,
Yeah, their
and
property.
I don't even think they make the whole show
No,
available. No,
they do not.
which is odd to
Yeah.
me, but yeah,
All right, Eddie, let's do the warm-up program.
sure.
I did that with CeeLo, who I'll do it again tomorrow with, as
Yes.
Jerry's in Detroit tonight for Cowboys Lions
And I think Jerry's not missing any other days. Think I heard him say.
for the rest of the year after
Yes.
tomorrow.
Right.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow
Yes,
then.
you will. See you.
So